How do you create a social media icon list using custom fonts? More about it coming up. What's up guys and girls, I'm Marian and my passion is to create the web and help you be part of it. In our previous episode, we've covered the technologies that we'll be using to build this project. Today, we'll start to build our landing page, which consists of our full name, the job title and the social media icon list. With that said, let's have a look at our agenda. Okay, so this is where we left off in our previous episode, which you can find the link above or in the description below. So our agenda is to create the landing page, and the part one, today's agenda, is to clean the partial from previous lesson. So this folder over here, partial, we file 1 and file 2, let's delete it. Yes, bye bye. And also remove it from over here. Okay, so now we have a clean we've cleaned up, so let's go over here and say Alt D. That's done. Use iCommon to generate a custom font. Let's see about it. Okay, so iCommon.io. Over here we want to go to this iCommon app. Okay, so we have an untitled project over here. So let's see about this icon library. So again, there is a button here, icon library, click on it. And let's import some free ones. Purchase. iCommon free. Let's add this one. Okay, so let's see. We want to select some of those icons. Right now we have the selection set to 0, which means we haven't selected anything, right? So let's select this for the home. What else looks nice? Have this map, and the calendar. What else? This trophy, we'll use it for words, and this hammer, we'll use it for skills. Let's see what else we can do. Okay, this airplane, so if you travel a lot, you gain experiences. So this will be our experience icon. And let's select this briefcase. It will be for projects or clients. Okay, and we have some menu over here. This will be used when we click on this icon. We'll jump on to our menu, which we'll build a lot later on. And what else? This earth icon, which will bring us to our personal web page. Okay. This would be about me. What else? Yeah, this looks better. No, let's use this one. The plus to expand our experience list. What else? An info icon and okay, this is Google, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. What else? Stack Overflow, LinkedIn, GitHub, our Word, our resume. Okay, HTML5. Not sure that we'll use this one, but let's have it. Let's have this icon too. So Skype, yeah, why not? Okay, I think this is it. We've selected 22 icons. So now usually most of you will go and use something like Font Awesome or something similar to Font Awesome, which means you'll be downloading 200-300 font icons in a font file, which would be very, very big. And actually you can see that this is a special case where I'm using like 22 icons, which is like 10% of the entire font files from Font Awesome. Most websites use up to 10 icons, which would be like 5% of that. So by using a custom font file, you will reduce the download size, the font file size that the user has to download in order to see the icons or some other custom fonts. So with that said, let's go on this generate font tab and go to preferences, and I'll customize this a bit. I'll say my CV. That's the font name, and the class will be my CV underscore icon hyphen, 2 of them. So my CV icon. Yeah, support i8? Of course not. Do not support i8. I don't care about i8. I'm not some old corporate company. Okay, so with that said, I think we are done with the settings. So let's go on and download this font. Before that, let's make this a bit bigger. So this Untitled project, let's click on it and name it also my CV. And let's actually download this one first. So this would be the source of our selection. This JSON file later on we can share with others, or let's say if we want to import it in another browser, we just go on iCommon.io, load the app, and import this file, and basically we'll have all our icons and the selected ones ready to, I don't know, update our custom selection. So let's go users, Maria. Thank you Windows for shortening it to 5 characters. Now I have a girl's name. Okay, so cool stuff. My CV source, and in here we'll create an asset. So underscore asset, ASSET, and in here we'll create a font file, font folder, and save this as my CV.json. Okay, so for our project this is useless. We don't need to use it, but when you want to share it with others, so they have this selection over here, all those icons, which ones are selected, which ones aren't selected, the preferences, and so on. That's my CV.json. That's what my CV.json is for, to share it with others or with us later on, or on other computers, other browsers, and so on. Because iCommon only keeps those settings in your browser. Okay, unless that's the free version, unless you go and pay for it. When you pay for it, you get more options, but it only keeps those settings in your browser. So if you don't want to pay for it, download that JSON file and spread it wherever you want to use it again. That's the difference. Okay, so with that said, let's click this download font. Finally, we download it. Okay, that looks okay. So my CV source asset font. Let's download it over here. Show in folder and unzip it. Extract here. Okay, we don't need the demo files. We actually want to cut those ones and paste them in. So by this demo files, fonts, and demo HTML. So now we are left with only this. So we remove the zip, the text, and the selection JSON. Okay, and we'll be using this style CSS. So let's actually rename it into icon font SCSS. Yes. And let's move it into src. let's create here a new folder, component with underscore in front of it. Okay, and another one, font. Okay, now let's go over what we have done looking into our project. So we've downloaded the font and we've also the font source, and we've put it in this asset font structure. This is the font source. And then we've also downloaded the font zip file. We've extracted the font files from it, mycv.svg, mycv.ttf, and mycv.wof. Those files are needed to render in different browsers. And into component, we've put this icon font SCSS file, which was the style CSS. We renamed it to icon font SCSS. This was from the zip folder, so we haven't yet written anything. So now if we are to run npm start, we'll have a quick look into our temporary folder in a moment. Let this start. Okay, so now let's have a look in our temporary folder. So in our temporary folder, we have this index.html file, and in asset, we have a font. So notice that asset with the underscore got transformed into asset without an underscore. So where we keep our files, our source files, we have it with underscore. On the web, we'll have it without underscore. Okay, so those are the files, which doesn't look like this path. So we need to update this font's mycv to be like asset font mycv. Okay, so let's select fonts and slash. Press Ctrl D 2 times. Okay, and now let's say asset slash font slash mycv. Now we've updated our path, and that should be fine. Let's go over our agenda and see what we have done. So we've used icomoon.io to generate the custom font. Press Ctrl D, or actually Alt D on Windows. Okay, download font files and font source into asset font. Okay, we've done that. And we are good so far. We'll follow this up by creating a layout page in a moment. Let's go over here, add everything, save stage all changes, and say create custom font files using awesome icomoon.io. Thank you, icomoon.io. Okay, and now let's sync it. It's like pushing our changes to GitHub. It's not like it is that. Okay, now let's go back to our files. So inside component, we want to create a layout page. So right click on the component, new folder, layout. Right click the folder layout, new file, page.pug. Okay, so now let's see what we move from here to there. Okay, in this layout, basically we'll have this, and we'll also have a title equals my title for Google search. Yeah, and we have meta name equals description. Okay, content equals my description for Google search. And for the clients, yeah, definitely. That should be fine. And over here say block block. Awesome content. Awesome content. And over here we say block config, cool config. That's fine. Now we need to pair this block cool config and this block awesome content with index pug. So let's delete this and say extends, and we need to go into component layout pug page. So component layout page. Okay, now block cool config and block awesome content. Yes. Aaron, this is it. And over here, let's split this. So we click the split icon over here and we make it horizontal. And if we look over here, we need my title for Google search coming from block cool config. So let's say bar my really ultra awesome CV. And we need another description. We need another variable, which is var my description for Google search equals. This is made using pure HTML5 and CSS3 techniques. Yes. Ta-da. Let's save it, and hopefully everything went well. So this is it. Okay, my really ultra awesome CV. So the title works. Let's hit Ctrl U and Ctrl plus a few times. So this is the title tag that will be used for Google search engine, and this is the meta description. Everything looks fine so far. So we've created our layout. Let's quickly close this, and this is our layout. Ta-da! Agenda, create layout page. Boom. Alt D. In here, we'll also want to create a link which will point to style.css. And this style.css will get compiled out of a style.scss. So let's create that too. Next to this one, we can click on new file and say style.scss. So SAS style. Okay, what our agenda tells us: add border box and fluid typography. So let's do that. Think I'll create a file here named layout.scss, and over here we want to select everything. That's our selector, and say box sizing border box. Okay, this is to make our life easier when we position stuff, because our margins will no longer, and our borders will no longer give us trouble. Okay, because the border box, once you set a size as box sizing border box, when you say a div is of width, let's say 100 pixels, and then you do border 5 pixels, the border will be inside those 100 pixels. Without box sizing border box, the border will be outside of it, which will potentially mess up your layout. So that's a given. Set your box size into border box. And now it's all about fluid typography. I'll just copy paste something over here, because this fluid typography in its own, it's an entire lesson, so we will not go too much in depth. Basically, we have here a minimum font size value. And what's actually the fluid typography? So when you resize your browser, the font will go up and down based on your width or height, or one of them anyway. So as you make your browser larger, the font size becomes larger, and it keeps the proportion. It resizes proportionally with the width or height of your browser. Okay, so in here we have a calc which will calculate each time you resize your browser, and we have a minimal font size. So if you resize your window too small, we want the font size to be acceptable for readability. So we still want to be able to read the text. And then over here we have the maximum font size, and this 100 view mean, it's the smaller value of the width and height. So if you have it in landscape, the width is larger or greater than the height, then the height will be the viewport in this scenario. If you have it in portrait mode, so the height is larger than the width, then the width would be the smaller one, which would be taken into consideration in this calculation over here. So basically, if you want to find more about it, you can Google fluid typography, or follow this link that I've included over here to Smashing Magazine, and read more about how you get to this one over here. With that said, let's actually see it in action for a moment. So let's close icon moon, we no longer need it for the moment. And I'll disable the device toolbar, okay, and hide this one. And let's see how this works. Okay, so as we resize our browser, look at the font being resized, the font size of this one being resized. Also the icons and everything else, look at them. See, as I resize the browser and make it bigger, the font size grows. So that's because of this line over here. Okay, with that said, let's continue. What's our agenda? Add border box and fluid typography. We've done that. Alt D. Add reset CSS. So let's quickly Google reset CSS. Bam. Go over here. Grab this piece of code over here and copy it. Let's go into component, create a new folder config, and into this folder config, where is it? Yeah, here. New file, reset.scss. Let's paste the content in, save it, and now let's go into our style CSS. So we want to import. What do we want to import? So component /config/reset, the file that we've just created. And now let's Alt Shift, do 2 more lines of this. So Alt Shift down arrow 2 times. And we also want to import the layout. So layout/layout and font icon font icon font. Okay, we also have an error. Let's see what this one is about. Component layout T. Yeah, there's no layout T. See, it could not read the path because I made a typo, and you'll make a typo quite soon. So scroll up, find the place where the error tells you something that's readable by you, because for sure you might not understand what this is, but anyway, find the place where the error tells you a message: failed to import, not found, or unreadable component layout, whatever. Read the error message. Usually it tells you what you did, what you effed up. I'm talking to people that kind of call me all the time. It doesn't work! Well, read the error message. Bam bam. So now let's save it. And everything looks fine. So if we look in our temporary folder into style CSS, we should see that there is this reset. Then we have this font size with calc and WebKit calc that's generated by gulp compiling it, and then we have the font face and our class icons and so on. So our layout CSS, icon font SCSS, and reset CSS have been compiled when we press save over here, have been compiled into style CSS. See this one over here, and also which is this one over here, right? This is gulp automating the compile process of SAS files into CSS files. Okay, with that said, let's see, we've added a reset, we've imported the font files, so let's also do a commit. Stage all of our changes, import font files, reset CSS, and use fluid typography. Nah. Can create anything as long as it's a nice message. Bam bam. Now let's sync it, which means pull and push. Okay, let's get back to our agenda. Create a full name variable and implement it into structure, and create a title and a social list variable composed of objects with icon and URL keys, and implement into structure. Okay, let's do that. So firstly, let's minimize some of those ones over here, and into component we want to create a new folder, landing page. Let's right click this landing page folder and choose new file and say landing page. I'll also hold shift and home, or up you can select the text, copy it, Ctrl C, hit enter, and I forgot to add an extension, so rename .pug. Okay, with that copied, because I didn't do it earlier, I'll create a new file, now paste it because I'm lazy, or I'm showing you how to be efficient. SCSS, yes. Now let's do some changes over here. We want to create a div with an ID and another div with a class of landing page. So we can say div and landing page. Actually, I have it copied in my clipboard, so Ctrl V, yeah. Hey, and a div with the class of landing page. Let's save this, and once we've saved it, let's look into our browser. Let's close this one. Okay, this is our browser. Okay, so let's look into it and see if we have our changes. Well, we don't see a div with an ID and a div with the class of landing page. Why is that? Well, this happened to me so many times. I forgot to include it into a file that indexpug knows about it, or actually into indexpug. So I forgot to include it into the chain that gets compiled. So let's go to index pag. This one. Over here we want to include component landing page. Okay, so include component landing. I have it copied to the clipboard. Paste. Yeah. So when I save it now and go back to the browser, we can see that we have a div with an ID of landing page and a div with the class of landing page. So far so good. Okay, let's make this a bit bigger, and I'll click inside here. So click inside the debugger and hit Ctrl plus a few times. See? So now you can see better. Okay, and now we have an empty screen for the moment. Let's get back to our pag. And before we forget, let's also include this landing page as CSS into the style CSS. Otherwise, we'll be writing at some point later on styles and we won't see them happening and we'll be like, what's wrong with it? So include pag files and include SCSS files into the compile chain. Okay, so in here we want to click somewhere over here, anywhere it's fine, and hit Alt Shift down arrow. Yay! So now let's select this and say pam pam. Done. Now we can forget about it. We'll be assured that whatever styles will be written will be propagated into the browser. Okay. So in this agenda, we want to create a full name and a job title. Landing page. Okay, pam pam. So we start with a minus JavaScript, inline JavaScript block for this pag file, and we say var my full name equals, and I'll say Marian Burlea. Okay, and I'll also say var my job title equals, and I'll say that I'm a unicorn trainer. Yes, that looks fine. And I think we'll create here. Let's see what we'll create here. Lamp page wrapper. Okay. By the way, let's quickly have a look at something. By default, if you don't specify any tag, so this is the tag, okay, or this is the tag in pag. If you don't specify a tag, by default, pag compiles to a div. So let's see this in action for the moment. We have a div with an ID and a div with a class of landing page. If we omit this tag, so I selected that div, press Ctrl D, multi-line edit, delete both of them, press escape to exit multi-line edit, and save it. Now over here we see that it recompiled. So if we look into the browser, we can still see a div with an ID and a div with a class, because by default, if you don't specify a tag name, pag defaults to a div. Okay. And let's say inside it we'll make a landing page wrapper, and inside this one we'll make an h1 tag with the class of landing page title, and an h2 tag with the class of landing page, well, the title, full name, let's say name. Okay, pressing Alt and up arrow, I switch them. See, I switch them. I actually move the line with page name one line up, which made them switched. Okay, so right now, if we only want to have the content of a variable in pag in this tag. Well, we switched them, but actually I want this to be h1 and this to be h2, right? So we can say my full name, and this can be done in multiple ways. I'll show you. And this would be my job title. Okay, so let's see how can we do this. Actually, you can say like that, my full name. And is there another way? Well, for the moment, let's see just those two. Okay, so let's save it. Let's look into the browser. We have landing page, wrapper, and this one and this one are identical. Okay, this and this are identical, right? With the exception that this is shorter, so you don't have to write those ones, but you can only write that. You cannot say ASD, right? Over here, this is interpolation, so this is the start, the end. Okay, so if we save it, you can say that this is the start, Marian's Burlea, the end, and this is Marian's Burlea. So you cannot use this in here. So if you just have the variable, equal variable, done. If you have more than the variable, well, this is how you interpolate a variable inside the content of a tag, okay? And this is the content of a tag, and this is the content of the tag using just the variable name, okay? So for our purpose, we use the one above. Okay, that's nice. We should see something. Yeah, Marian's Burlea Unicorn Trainer. That's good. Well, let's continue doing the social list. So we'll make an unordered list tag with a class of landing page social, right? What's our agenda asking us? Yeah, this is done, this is done. So social list variable into structure, social item, social label. Well, we'll get to that. Yeah, and in here we want to have for the moment just a list item landing page with the class of a landing page item. Okay, and in here we'll have a span with the class of landing page. No, that's not a span. The span, this should be a label. We'll see about why this is a label in a moment. So this is a label with landing page label. That should be fine, right? And in here, let's leave that for the moment empty because we'll be using it. And in here we'll say another span with the class of, well, the class would be a dynamic one. So class equals, and these are ticks, so those are not single quotes, those are ticks. You can usually find them next to the one character on your keyboard, or just, well, Google where you can find them on your keyboard if you can't find them. So for the moment we just leave it like this, and over here we want to generate this as an icon, and the value of it would be coming from, let's see, icon font. We want to generate the class to be something like this. See, like icon home, something like that. Yeah, so something like that, but this part over here, the home, would vary. So let's move it. Okay, so now let's look into our browser and see what we've done so far. This is our browser. Landing page, div page wrapper, and an order list with a list item with the class of landing page and the label which doesn't have anything as a value for the attribute for, and the span with my icon. If we undo it for a moment, let's see. Oh, it works. See that home icon, that iCommon, okay, that came from iCommon app. So basically that icon, the home icon and all the other icons got packaged into a custom font, which later on got exported, and we've downloaded it in our project. We've put the font files into asset font. We've also taken the provided CSS and imported it into our project, ended up on our screen over here. So now let's continue to create our list. Let's get back to our project. And over here, we want to create objects with icon and URL keys or properties. So let's initialize a variable named social list. Social list. And when we put square brackets, we initialize an array in JavaScript, which is basically a collection or a list of things, a list of values. Okay, so in here we want to have an object, and this object will have an icon, and we say icon colon, and into single quotes we can say value, and then we say URL colon into double quotes value. Okay, so let's see, for example, for Facebook, http colon / https facebook.com/mariansburlea. Okay, so the icon for Facebook, let's find it in our icon font. So it's called Facebook 2. Okay, let's put it in here. And let's also look for, so Twitter is Twitter and YouTube is YouTube. Okay, I have my cursor on line 5, so I'll press Alt, Shift and down arrow 2 times to make copies, and we have Twitter, and we can say it like that, and we also have YouTube /CodeTap. Yeah, that should be fine. So now we have an error. Let's see about it. Unexpected token. Ultra awesome. We don't have commas. Yes, we need commas. Let's add commas everywhere because JavaScript allows us to add commas. Okay, so now everything looks fine. So this social list contains objects, and each object has an icon and an URL. So to loop through this social list, we can use the each method available in Pug. So we can say each social in social list, and that would be in as in. Okay, so this social variable, when it's going to do the loop, we'll have first time this value, second time this value, and third time this value. Okay, so basically we want to select this and indent it, hit the tab key. Okay, and if we save it right now, let's see what happens in the browser. So basically we have 3 loops, and since we have that home icon set up, it will repeat it 3 times. So let's update this. So we know that social will take each of the values when it loops. So first time it will be the object with icon of Facebook 2 and the URL towards Facebook. So in order to access this, the value of this, we will say social, because social is this, dot icon. Okay, so in here, those are ticks in JavaScript ES6. So those are not single quotes, are ticks like that. You can find them next to the one key on your keyboard, or anyway, Google it if you can't find it. So we put this dollar followed by curly braces, and we say social, which is this one over here, this social, and this social has icon and URL. So we say social dot icon. Save it, refresh our browser so we can see. Those have been updated. The first li has Facebook 2, the second has Twitter, and the third has it as YouTube. Okay, now I have this collection enriched with more social icons, so I'll just paste it in a second. So I have like Google Plus, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Stack Overflow, Skype, LinkedIn, and my personal website. So when I save it, let's go back to the browser and see our social media list icons. So this is it for the moment. This is the end of part 1. In part 2, we'll style this, and we'll also use some CSS tricks to show and hide the links. If you're new over here, don't forget to subscribe to get more content just like this. Also, like our Facebook page. And as always, happy coding and create something awesome!